Oh, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into the charts. But before we do, let's blind our retinas for just a second. Ah, there it is. Okay, so we're looking at the NASDAQ.com here. This is actually a quote from a Bloomberg analyst, I'm pretty sure. MicroStrategy will likely enter the NASDAQ 100 index on December 23rd, right? So we got the keynotes today, and we expect net buying of at least $2.1 billion in shares by ETFs to follow. That's just in shares by the ETFs, right? What about private investors? What about institutions that aren't involved as far as ETFs go? They just want to, they want to have a piece of that MicroStrategy pie. What about retail investors, dumb money, private investors, right? There's essentially, this is what's going to come in by ETFs, apparently. There's going to be more than that coming in overall, right? You got a lot of money, $2.1 billion in shares. That's what we're expecting. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. 2.1 billion. Your market cap is 91 billion, dude. That is insane. That's an insane amount of money coming in a very short amount of time. But I think that you're going to do well. I think that you're going to do really well with that, right? I just wanted to read that little part off there. I wanted to get our retinas fresh and sharp. I don't know, man. MicroStrategy has already acquired over 170,000 Bitcoin since announcing its plans to raise $42 billion to purchase more Bitcoin in late October. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else I want to read on that. Okay, so let's do some actual TA now that we've gotten that out of the way. I'm sure that little part, that little anecdote there, everybody probably is already aware of that, but getting listed on these big indexes, the QQQ, the NASDAQ, it's probably going to happen. That's a big deal, you guys. It's definitely a big deal. And I know a few of you wanted me to mention that, so there I am talking about it. I'm not going in great detail. I do want to do a more fundamental analysis on MicroStrategy, and that video is coming soon. It'll be a little bit more in-depth than just technical analysis. It'll be more of a C-Zar Talks video. Grab some tea, grab some coffee, grab a beer, grab a joint, whatever it is that you want to grab. Maybe not whatever it is you want to grab, but something to enjoy. That doesn't help. Something to something. Okay, let's move on. From a high to a low, from a high to a low. The 1618 is where you found resistance. Okay, you pulled back down. You found support on the 1414 right here at about $340. Yeah, you haven't gone lower than that. You had all the reasons to go lower than that. This is where everything's just going to sound like I'm repeating myself. And if it does sound like I'm repeating myself over the past 3 days, it's because, well, this is what the past 3 days have looked like. We haven't really gone anywhere. But I felt like it was important to make this video because it is the end of the week. We did get our weekly close. The weekly close itself does look pretty nice. I just want to say, right, we got that bounce off the 1414. We've maintained that stance. That's nice. The next target area, based off of how we're performing in the fibs right now, is $900, $1,000. You can take that to the bank, guys. You can take it to the bank, literally. The next target area is $994. There's no denying that in my mind. That we are closer. We're at $408. We are closer to $338 right now than $994. I would bet any of you that we see prices at $994 before we ever do see prices below $338. I'm that confident in it, right? We're at that precipice now. What was I going to say right before I got distracted? Oh, yeah. So had a nice close to this week here. Wicked down again, but close. We got some wicks to the downside over the last 3 weeks. Definitely showing that we are consolidating, but finding support in key areas and looking like we do want to build higher. Weekly RSI is definitely in a nice place as well. We do not have to top out here. We can absolutely grow more. We've seen the RSI top off right here before, literally right in the same area. Pulled all the way back down here, just above the overbought zone, and it went and rallied even higher, right? What did it do last time whenever that happened? That was right here. MicroStrategy pulled back for 1 week. That's what that was, and then it went on a rally. Look at what it did, right? It was like halfway through its move, and then it went all the way up over the persisting weeks to come. I don't think that like this was the end of your cycle, right? From here, that was it. That was the end of your cycle. You went on a bear cycle. I don't think we're halfway up this move like we were here, and then we have another half to go, and then that's the end of the cycle. It could be, but I don't think it is, personally. I really do think that we're about to rip higher, and that's really all I was trying to say, was that the weekly RSI here does look pretty good. I don't think this is bearish divergence. High here, lower high here, and I know there's a high here and a higher high here. I don't think it's bearish divergence, because what you had was you had a high here, a lower high, and a higher high. Here you had a high here, a lower high, and a lower high, right? So you had a little bearish divergence between these two highs, and that played out. But now you've got a higher high versus these highs, and it is a higher high. It's not bearish divergence. So anybody calling for bearish divergence, keep calling for it, because it's not coming, man. You're going to keep calling for it. From a high to low of the relative range, I'm just going to finish up the video with this. High to low of the overall range, high to low of the relative range. Next target is 994. There's actually no fibs. I thought I saw a fib. What am I forgetting? There's something. Okay. Oh, I know what it was actually. Here we go. All the way out to the Mac Daddy fib. That's what it is. High to low here. There we go. Yeah. So 934. Just adding to the idea here that this is not where we're going to stop. Right. I was off on this little tangent for a second, where we moved up, we pulled back in our RSI right down, just kind of like how we are now. We topped off in a very similar area. We went a lot lower, but then we went up higher, right? I was stopped in that. I was saying that I don't think that by the end of this move in the RSI, and by the end of this move when we're up at $900, I don't think that's the end of the cycle. And my reasoning for that was this fib here, these two fibs that I pulled up, right? So 994, I'm going to delete the big fib. We'll pull it back up in a second. 994 is the next target area, okay? After the 1886, the next target area is the 2272. I suspect that the 2272 is your minimum target for the end of the cycle. That's my expectation. That's what I'm suspecting at the moment. If we put the overall fib, the large fib from the previous all-time high that we had for a very long time, for decades, man, for like a quarter of a century, literally, from a high to a low, that 1272 lines up very well with this 2272. And then the 1414, which is the next target after that, lines up very well with the 2618, which is the next target after that. You guys, I do think that we are not only moving up from $408 to $900, probably by the end of January is what I'm thinking. We'll probably be up in this zone by the end of January. But the party doesn't stop there. That's not the end of the cycle. We'll probably consolidate, pull back. Maybe you pull all the way back to 539. Maybe you pull back somewhere in the middle of this zone and you don't hit a fib to find support, whatever. All I know is the end of the cycle, which will be the halfway point or later in 2025, or so I suspect, will bring higher prices than this target here at the 886. It'll bring higher targets than this. You'll consolidate, and then you'll run up. Where you're going to run up by the end of 2025 is going to be somewhere between $2,400 to potentially $5,300. Those are your next target areas, both on the relative cycle fibs and the Mac Daddy fib that you have here. It's relative on both. Very key levels, man. Very, very, very key levels. And we're just beginning. It's only just begun. And I want to say something on that note, actually, going back, one more thing to kind of validate the idea of going to the 2618, 2272 area, which also lines up with these very significant fibs here on that significant fib level. Anytime that you're looking for extended levels, there's kind of rules. It's not very rigid, this rule book. It's kind of flexible, and there's a bunch of different scenarios that can play out. But with the scenario we have now, in a very simplistic kind of way of looking at it, when you break above the 886, right? You get to the high. Let's start at the very beginning. You get your high, you get your low, you have your whole fib range here, right? And here's your retracement move now, right? When you get above the 886, that opens up the door to this area, what I call the primary extension zone. It's your primary target zone, right? You tend to find resistance either at the bottom or at the top of it. You found resistance at the top, or whatever, right? When you break above the 886, it opens up the floodgates for this area. The next area after the 1618, 1272 area is the 1886 to the 2618 area. That's the next area. What opens up the floodgates to that, you guessed it, is the 1618. That's the gatekeeper. When you get above $539, your next target area, let alone your target is probably, I think your next target will be around $1,000 to $1,300, $994 to $1,300. I think that is your next target by the end of January. But really, your next target is an area. It's a total area between the 2618 and the 1886. And this is your secondary target area. You can get into tertiary targets, right? I doubt you do that this cycle. Tends to be on smaller fib scales that we see that, but I wanted to address this because the gatekeeper here is where we found resistance. When we break above this, generally speaking, I don't expect that we stop at the 1886. I expect us to stop at the 2272. When I say that, That doesn't mean we can't find turbulence here, right? We can basically like keep moving up, but I would consider a move like this overall a nonstop party to the 2272, even if there are weeks or months that we're consolidating, because we're looking at this from a grand kind of cyclical perspective. So whenever I say it's going to move up there, when you break above the 1618, it moves up there kind of nonstop. I just mean that from a cyclical perspective. From a cyclical perspective, we've been moving up kind of nonstop, right? But we did have a stopping point here and there, right? We've had stopping points. But all I'm really trying to say without getting too carried away here is that $994 is exciting, but getting above this high that we've set up, there's a lot more, there's deeper implications than just $994, right? This might be the short-term outlook, but certainly by the end of the cycle, I am expecting 2,400 to 5,300. That's my expectation. So I'm going to stop saying that. I know a lot of you guys like it whenever I talk about those pie in the sky numbers, but let's get back to reality and just accept that those are probably months away, if not even like nearly a year away, over half a year away, right? We've got a long time before we get to that. Probably a lot of trial and tribulations before we get to that, right? It's not going to be sunshine and ponies all the way up there. I know I just made it sound like it's going to be, but we'll probably move up to 900 by the end of January is my thoughts, and then we'll probably have a nice pullback after that, which will probably scare people. Everybody will feel like we're on top of the world over here, and then once we pull back, people are going to second guess themselves. You're going to have people who are like, why am I in MicroStrategy? It's a scam. And right whenever people capitulate there, that's when it's time to buy, and that's when it's time to move up again. But I don't know, man. I'm just rambling at this point, so I got nothing else to say. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. The weekly RSI looks immaculate. Daily RSI looks fresh and ready to go, man. I love it. Lower lows in the daily RSI and higher lows in the price. That's you can't ask for a better combination than that. The 3-hour RSI also looking frisky, looking really good, ready to go. I think next week is going to be a good week for MicroStrategy. So this will be the last video that I make on MicroStrategy for the week. I am not going to make a video tomorrow or the next day because it's the weekend. It's not going to change. So I think you guys can sit tight without a couple MicroStrategy videos for the coming days. And I will see you on Monday, hopefully with a more fundamental video. I'm going to work on that. I think I have time this weekend to do some putting together of like a script. We'll see. I don't know. I don't normally do videos like that, so I'm a little bit nervous because technical analysis, you guys, I can just talk, I can ramble, I can go off on all these tangents, and I can bring it back to the statistics, the science, the artism, whatever you want to call it, that I'm doing here with the charts, right? But whenever I do fundamental stuff, that requires more of like studying, I feel like, right? That requires more of a script. So I'm going to try to work on a script, quote unquote, which is not my style, but I want to give you guys more of a fundamental, what my understanding, what my beliefs, what my opinions are on the overall kind of dynamics of MicroStrategy. Because I know some of you asked for that and you would appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys. So I want to fulfill the requests. Whatever you guys are asking me to do, I want to do that, right? That's how you keep the user base happy, and it's how you keep me happy too, man. Whatever makes you guys happy is what makes me happy. So enough of this. I'm going to end the video. Hit the like button, subscribe. That also makes me happy. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.